स्टूडेंट इज इट ऑडिबल या मैं इसकी आवाज बढ़ा दूं?
मैम बढ़ा दीजिए।
बढ़ा दूं? ठीक है, मैंने इसकी आवाज बढ़ा दी। अब हम इसको स्टार्ट करते हैं, आप प्लीज अटेंटिव रहना।
My name is Anuj. Let's begin with today's topic. What is engineering? Engineering means designing solutions to the problems. It includes finding the problem by gathering and investigating the requirements, modeling the solution design, coding and testing the software, then deploying the solution, followed by maintenance. Traditionally, all these phases are well defined and expected to take place one after the other like a waterfall. Let's talk about some shocking facts and figures. A survey of IT experts revealed 43% of their organization had recently killed an IT project. So, why do organizations kill IT projects? The study conducted by ISACA, the Information System Audit and Control Association, an independent IT governance group, highlighted the top 5 reasons these organizations named for terminating the projects even prior to the completion. Change in business need caused 30% project terminations, while other reasons being did not deliver as promised, project was no longer a priority, project exceeded the budget, project did not support the business strategy. Traditional waterfall model seems to be okay when the requirements can be fully known and frozen, something like building a bridge in civil engineering. However, in a changing market condition with cutthroat competition, freezing the requirement becomes almost impossible. The data shows that minimum of 25% of the original requirements change during the development period. The changes lead to rework. Now assume that 80% software features are ready. However, 20% is getting delayed due to some reason. Here, all features or none would go into production. The most important reason for failure of this model is the delayed review comment from stakeholders. Feedback comments are received towards the end of the testing phase. At this stage, there is hardly any time left from the planned project duration to take corrective actions. This leads to the time and budget overrun. On an average, about 40% of the defects are due to faulty requirements, and they were not discovered until testing phase since the business representatives were never involved during the development phase. Finally, when the product is delivered, about 61% of the features are never used by the end customer. In order to improvise the success rate, in 90s people started experimenting with the process models, and many of them came forward with new methodologies. For example, crystal methods from Alistair Cockburn primarily focus on the people aspect. Dynamic system development methods, DSDM, first released in 1994, originally sought to provide some discipline to the rapid application development. Extreme programming focused on engineering aspect of the code. Other methodologies like Scrum was evolving during that time. In February 2001, a group of 17 software pundits got together in a ski resort in Switzerland to discuss on growing field of what used to be called as lightweight methods. They decided to use the term Agile to describe this new breed of methods. In the 2 days discussion, they came up with 4 key values and 12 principles to guide an iterative and people-centric approach to the software development. This is also known as Agile Manifesto. So actually saying Agile is nothing new. It is a meta model based on best practices from previous models like waterfall, iterative and incremental, rapid application development method. So we can say Agile always existed, but not formally structured. In other words, Agile is an umbrella term given to various methodologies which share the same principles and values of Agile. However, they may differ in practices being followed. In this series, I will explain more about Scrum, XP, Kanban, and some basics of FTD.
Thank you for
So students, I hope आपको ये समझ आया होगा what was there in the video.
Yes, ma'am.
वीडियो क्लियर था, ऑडियो क्लियर था, चीजें मतलब ऐसी थी, आप ग्रास्प कर पा रहे थे?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So we'll start with the next video.
In this video tutorial series, we are going to have a look at one of the Agile methodologies, Agile Scrum. Before we get into Scrum, let us understand what is Agile methodology. Agile methodology is an umbrella term for several incremental and iterative software development methodologies. Popular Agile methodologies are Lean development, Extreme programming, Feature-driven development, and Scrum. At the end of this video tutorial, you will understand basics of Scrum, what are the roles involved, what are the events, benefits, and certifications available in Scrum. So let's get started. First, let us understand the definition of Scrum. For that, let us go back to its origin. It dates way back in 1986 when Takeuchi and Noneka presented a study in Harvard Business Review. The study explained that projects using small and cross-functional teams produce the best results. The definition was closely related to Scrum formation in the sport rugby. Look at how focused the teams are on this common goal, the rugby ball. But when it comes to Scrum projects, the common goal is that product feature which team decides together. Further to Takeuchi and Noneka, it was Jeff Sutherland in 1993 who used Scrum for the first time for software projects. Then it was Ken Schwaber in 1996 who formalized Scrum for worldwide software industry. That was all about creators of Scrum. Now let us understand the definition of Scrum according to scrum.org. Scrum.org is one of the recognized institutions in Scrum. So the definition says, Scrum is a framework to support complex product development. In Scrum framework, there are Scrum teams, events, and certain artifacts which are produced as a result of the events and the team gathering. This was all about the introduction to Scrum. In the next video, we will understand how Scrum is not a methodology but a framework. Thank you so much for watching.
Matthew?
Sir,
No.
yes sir.
Today,
No,
स्टूडेंट्स आई होप आपको एक छोटा सा वीडियो ये समझ में आया होगा कि एजाइल में एक जो फ्रेमवर्क है वो है स्क्रम, राइट? तो वेरी गुड. तो स्क्रम के लिए मैं आपको एक और वीडियो दिखाती हूँ.
Fine, let's take a quick.
Give me a minute.
At its core, Scrum is all about continuous learning and adjusting.
What is Scrum से start करते हैं? Just
I'm Megan Cook, Group Product Manager for Jira Software at Atlassian, the makers of Jira and other collaboration tools. In this series, you'll get an intro to Scrum, an Agile framework to help your team get organized, iterate, and continuously improve the projects or products you're working on. And at Atlassian, we like to say that great teams have the right practices and the right people and the right tools. This series will cover the practices and people along with some of the key Scrum artifacts. There are also many tools you can use to manage those artifacts, like Jira, not that we're biased, which we'll get into in other series. Follow our channel for the whole course on that. This episode is a high-level overview of Scrum so we can have a good baseline before getting into more detail. Over the course of this Intro to Scrum series, we'll share more about the process and ceremonies, the roles that each Scrum team must have, and the artifacts they will collect along the way. By the end of the series, you'll have a good understanding of what Scrum is, why so many teams use it, and how it works so that you can start implementing or improving the framework with your team. So let's begin with the basics. What Scrum is and why it's awesome. Scrum is an agile project management framework that teams use to develop, deliver, and sustain complex products. You may hear people use Scrum and Agile interchangeably, but spoiler alert, they're wrong. Scrum is about continuously shipping value to customers. It's a framework for getting work done, while Agile is a set of values and principles, a North Star. This means that it usually comes with significant cultural change. You can't really just go Agile, as it takes a lot more to change the way that you think than it does to change the way that you work. But you can use a framework like Scrum to help you start thinking in a more agile way and practice building agile principles into your communication and your work. Teams of all kinds use Scrum: HR, marketing, design, and more. But perhaps the most common is software development and engineering. It's a favorite framework for many development teams for a few reasons. Software is a living, breathing thing. Requirements change, goals change, situations change. Scrum embraces those changes. With Scrum, a product is built in a series of iterations called sprints that break down big, complex projects into bite-sized pieces. This makes projects more manageable, allows teams to ship high-quality work faster and more frequently, and gives them more flexibility to adapt and change. Scrum's transparency and iterative framework also help overcome many of the recurring problems people often experience in waterfall projects. Short iterations make it possible to reduce risk and costs, get fast feedback from users, increase speed to market, and see value quicker. Milestones, like the end of a sprint, also come frequently and give teams a sense of regular, tangible progress. This helps them stay focused and energized, which increases employee engagement and satisfaction. With benefits like these, it's easy to see why Scrum is a favorite framework for all kinds of teams. But how exactly does it work? Check out our next video to find out. At its core, Scrum is all about continuous learning and adjusting to change. It acknowledges that we don't know everything at the start of a project, and it's structured to help teams naturally adapt to changing market conditions and user requirements. Hi, I'm Megan Cook, Group Product Manager for Jira Software at Atlassian, the makers of Jira and other collaboration tools. In our last episode, we talked about what Scrum is and why so many teams think it's an awesome framework for getting work done, especially big, complex projects. Now that you have a good baseline, let's take a closer look at how it works. Scrum revolves around short, iterative release cycles, or sprints, that allow you to ship often, reprioritize when needed, and constantly improve. Here's how it works. As a development team sets out to build a new product or improve an existing one, they have a long list of stories, features, requirements, enhancers, and fixes to work on. This is called the product backlog. Think of it as a running to-do list. Every few weeks, the team plans which of the tasks from that backlog they'll work on during the next sprint, the short time period when a potentially shippable increment of work is created. Sprints are normally around 2 weeks, but your team can decide on the length that works for you. Throughout the sprint, the team participates in a number of events on a regular basis, often called ceremonies. These ceremonies are the hallmarks of the Scrum framework. They create regularity and help teams maintain transparent, clear communication, adapt to change, and continuously learn. The key ceremonies are sprint planning, daily scrum or stand-up, sprint reviews, and sprint retrospectives. Let's start with sprint planning. During this ceremony, your team decides what you want to accomplish during the next sprint. Then you work together to move tasks and stories from the backlog to the sprint in order to meet the sprint goal, keeping in mind what's feasible to complete in 2 weeks. During each day of the sprint, you and your team have a daily scrum or stand-up. This is a super short meeting that happens at the same time and in the same place. It's usually in the morning and lasts for about 15 minutes, but you can make it shorter or longer if needed. It should be quick though. Don't let it turn into an hour-long meeting that gets in the way of other work. The goal of the daily scrum is to get everyone on the same page. It's also a time to voice any concerns you have or things that may be blocking you from making progress toward the sprint goal. At the end of the sprint, the team gets together for a sprint review, an informal session to view a demo and see what was accomplished. This review meeting is when the development team shows off the backlog items they finished to the product owner, who approves them for the release. The product owner also reworks the backlog based on the current sprint, and that serves as a starting point for the next sprint planning session. The last step of every sprint is the retrospective, where the team comes together to talk about and document what worked well and what didn't work. The retrospective could be about the sprint, the project, the people and relationships, tools, or even certain ceremonies. The idea isn't to dwell on what went wrong, but to create a safe space where the team can talk about what went well and what needs to be improved the next time. So, to recap, the 4 Scrum ceremonies are sprint planning, daily Scrum or stand-up, sprint reviews, and sprint retrospectives. These are the practices that will hold your process together. But these practices don't run themselves. That's where the people come in. We'll talk more about that and the roles each person plays in our next video. Stay tuned and follow our channel for an even deeper dive into each of these ceremonies, along with other helpful tips on how to get started with Scrum. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the people involved in these ceremonies. There are 3 primary roles in the Scrum framework: product owners, Scrum masters, and the development teams. Hi, I'm Megan Cook, Group Product Manager for Jira Software at Atlassian, the makers of Jira and other collaboration tools. In our last episode, we talked about how Scrum works and the 4 ceremonies that serve as the glue that holds the framework together: sprint planning, daily Scrum or stand-up, sprint reviews, and sprint retrospectives. Those are the practices in the Scrum equation. Scrum product owners are the champions for their product. Their main job is to bring the product vision to life and have a constant pulse on the market and the customer. They're focused on understanding business and market requirements, then prioritizing the work that the development team will do. Scrum masters are the Scrum experts within their team. They coach developers, product owners, and the business on the Scrum process and look for ways to fine-tune their practice. Scrum Masters are referred to as the servant leader by the official Scrum Guide. Scrum development teams are the developers and designers, the people who do the day in and day out work to accomplish the sprint goals and who collaborate with the product owners to forecast how much work they can complete in each sprint. They also think about how to improve development practices as they learn what works best. Together, the development team, Scrum Master, and Product Owner are the people who will keep your project and Scrum practice moving in the right direction. We'll talk more about the responsibilities and best practices for each of these roles in another series, so follow our channel to watch that episode and learn everything you need to know about the basics of Scrum. Now, along the way, the development team, Scrum Master, and Product Owner will collect artifacts as they go through each ceremony. That's the topic of our next video. Check it out to learn more about Scrum artifacts. Throughout the process, your team will collect artifacts, that's the topic of today's episode. Artifacts is something you make, like a tool to solve a problem. In Scrum, the three main artifacts are the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment with your definition of done. They're the three constants that you'll continue to revisit and invest in over time. Hello, Megan Cook here, Group Product Manager for Jira Software at Atlassian, the makers of Jira and other collaboration tools. In this series, we've been discussing the practices and the people needed to use Scrum. We talk about how Scrum works and the ceremonies your team will go through, as well as the roles each person will play in the process. First, you have your product backlog, that master to-do list of user stories, features, requirements, enhancements, and fixes. The product owner maintains this and uses it to plan your sprint backlog, which is the list of items of user stories that the development team is working on in the current sprint to complete the increment, which is also known as the sprint goal. This is the third Scrum artifact. The increment is the usable end product from a sprint. At Atlassian, we usually show off the increment during the end of sprint demo, where the team shares what was completed in the sprint. Some teams consider the increment to be whatever their definition of done is, a milestone, a sprint goal, or the full version of shippable product, regardless of whether or not it's actually shipped. Every team has a different definition of done though, so make sure to work with your team to clarify yours. And speaking of done, you're done with this Intro to Scrum series. Now you're familiar with the basics of what Scrum is, why so many teams use it, and how it works, including the ceremonies, roles, and artifacts. We're just getting started, so make sure to follow our channel for the latest episodes and watch the next series about sprint planning.
So students, I hope आपको ये वीडियोस में जो भी बता रहे थे थोड़ा बहुत समझ आना शुरू हुआ होगा.
Yes, ma'am.
है ना, वेरी गुड. तो ये बहुत अच्छे अच्छे वीडियोस थे. अच्छा, एक होमवर्क देखना, आप कितना आपने देखा एक ग्रुप प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर वाज लाइक टेलिंग ऑल अबाउट दिस, हाउ एक्सपर्ट वाज शी. ये शी वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट जीरा सॉफ्टवेयर, और जीरा सॉफ्टवेयर बहुत ज़्यादा यूज होता है आपके कंपनीज में. तो आपका एक होमवर्क है कि आप इस जीरा सॉफ्टवेयर के बारे में थोड़ा सा पढ़ के आएंगे. इट इज़ नॉट पार्ट ऑफ सिलेबस, बट डेफिनेटली आप कोई भी चीज़ सिर्फ सिलेबस तक कन्फाइन नहीं रख सकते. ठीक है, इफ यू हैव लाइक हंगर फॉर नॉलेज, तो इट्स गुड दैट यू जस्ट गेट फेमिलियर विद दिस जीरा सॉफ्टवेयर, जस्ट यू नो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज दिस सॉफ्टवेयर. ठीक है, तो अभी हमने इसमें देखा एजाइल क्या है. एजाइल में हमारे पास वैल्यूज प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, एजाइल का फ्रेमवर्क है. एजाइल में जो स्क्रम होता है उसमें मतलब जैसे रग्बी टीम का ही हमेशा एग्जाम्पल दिया जाता है. टीम में हर तरीके के प्लेयर्स हैं, हर एक की अपनी स्ट्रेंथ है, और सारे टीम मेंबर्स मिलके दे बट ऑल हैव अ सिंगल गोल, राइट. उनका फोकस उनके गोल पे होता है, उनकी बॉल पे होता है, राइट. तो इसी तरीके से ही इतने ही कोऑर्डिनेशन के साथ और इतने ही फास्ट पेस पे काम करो जिस तरीके से. और स्क्रम का मतलब होता है एक प्लेयर्स का जिस तरीके से ऑर्डर अरेंज किया जाता है फॉर द प्लेइंग पर्पस, दैट इज स्क्रम. तो इसमें भी क्या होता है, आपकी छोटी छोटी टीम्स होती हैं. उन छोटी टीम्स का जैसे जो मास्टर होता है स्क्रम मास्टर, वो और अच्छी चीज क्या होती है, सिर्फ 2 वीक्स के इंक्रीमेंट्स होते हैं जिसको हम बोलते हैं आपकी स्प्रिंट्स, राइट. तो हर स्प्रिंट्स में 2 वीक्स के बाद यू गिव सम डिलीवरीज, और वो भी क्या है, कुछ भी फंक्शनल फीचर which is working, which is delivered by the, or which is an increment to the existing software. और इसमें अच्छी बात क्या होती है कि जो लंबे डॉक्यूमेंटेशंस की, लंबी मीटिंग्स की बात होती थी, उसको हमने थोड़ा साइड लाइन किया, क्योंकि उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा ह्यूमन एफिशिएंसी जाती थी, एफर्ट भी जाता था, टाइम भी जाता था. अब जैसे इन्होंने हमेशा बोला स्क्रम और स्टैंडअप्स, डेली स्क्रम और स्टैंडअप्स. व्हाट डज इट मीन कि आप जब मॉर्निंग में सुबह आएंगे, पूरी टीम की एक मीटिंग होगी, और वाई स्टैंड अप, लंबी मीटिंग में लोग बैठ जाते हैं, रिलैक्स हो जाते हैं, कई बार तो सो भी जाते हैं, ज़्यादा लंबी मीटिंग चल जाती है, इफ यू आर टायर्ड. तो यू विल बी अटेंटिव, यू विल बी एक्टिव, और आप जनरली खड़े ही कर लेते हो मीटिंग. आप इसके लिए कोई बहुत अरेंजमेंट और कुछ नहीं, और आप सारी टीम एक साथ आते हो. यू हैव स्टैंड अप मीटिंग, जहाँ आप आपके जो भी चल रहा है उसको एक दूसरे के साथ कम्युनिकेट करके सब एक सिंक में आ जाते हैं टीम. किसी की क्या प्रॉब्लम है, क्या अचीव हुआ, ठीक है, क्या रिस्क है वहीं की वहीं डिस्कस होते हैं, और फिर आपके जो स्प्रिंट का रहता है उसके लिए फिर आप अपना स्टार्ट कर देते हो काम, आफ्टर दैट स्क्रम स्टैंड अप। तो इस तरीके से चीज़ों का जो मेन फोकस है वो सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग आर्टिफैक्ट प्रोड्यूस करने से ज़्यादा सॉफ्टवेयर इंक्रीमेंट डिलीवर करना है, और उसको एक छोटी टीम में बाइट साइज भी एक चीज यूज होती है इसमें, कि आप आपके वर्क को उतना ही ले रहे हो, उतना छोटा छोटा करके यू आर अचीविंग कि इट इज इजीली मैनेजेबल। दिस इज द की पॉइंट, कि आपकी छोटी छोटी स्प्रिंट्स बनाएं। आपकी कोई भी 2 वीक से ज्यादा की स्प्रिंट होती नहीं है, तो आप जितना 2 वीक में कर सकते हो उतना ही स्क्रम मास्टर लेता है, ठीक है, प्रोडक्ट ओनर से, और उसको अपनी टीम से डिलीवर कराता है। तो जब किसी भी बड़ी चीज को सॉल्व करने के लिए तरीका यही है कि आप उसको छोटे छोटे पीसेस में मैनेज कीजिए, इट विल बी इजी टू मैनेज, राइट, दैट इज अप्लाइड हियर। तो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट दिस एजाइल। तो आज के लिए मैं आपको यहीं छोड़ती हूँ, और आपसे एक्सपेक्ट करती हूँ कि आज हमने जितना देखा और आप इसको अपने लेवल पे पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है, और फिर हम देखेंगे कि जो हमारे सिलेबस में है उसमें से भी अब कोई ऐसी चीज है विच इज नॉट क्लियर, देन वी विल डिस्कस, अदरवाइज इफ नॉट रिक्वायर्ड we will not discuss this topic again. If required, definitely we will discuss. Is that fine?
Yes, ma'am.
एक और वीडियो,
Yes, ma'am.
ओके, एक और वीडियो दिखा सकती हूँ जो आपको और थोड़ा रियल लाइफ, क्योंकि एजाइल सीधा उससे नहीं आया, ये ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री से आया है, राइट। लेट मी शेयर वन मोर वीडियो। Just give me a minute.
Delivering each one ready rather than delivering the whole meal.
एक काम करते हैं, इसको और देखते हैं, फिर we will end, ठीक है। तो मैं आपकी अटेंडेंस ले लेती हूँ।
But the truth is that many organizations don't have a firm grasp is doing agile development. But the truth is that many organizations don't have a firm grasp on the process of agile software development. Even if you think you're doing agile development, you may not be. Doing agile development is a lot like running a restaurant. Everyone has their own specific tasks, but they have to work together so all the pieces come together at the right time. And they have to be able to make all sorts of meals based on whatever customers happen to want each day. The team is only successful when the product is satisfactorily delivered to the customer. The process in a restaurant starts with the food orders. The server collects the orders on tickets that the kitchen then works through. In software development, business units ask for the products they want developed, providing their user stories and requirements. In other words, their order tickets. The Agile team has to take all those tickets and figure out how to make all the products so that they all get delivered at the right time to the various business teams. That's called the Kanban process, based on the Japanese word Kanban for the tickets used in project planning. The Scrum Master, in consultation with the product owner and development team, organizes the tickets into groups that can be tackled at once. The groups are then placed in order, so the first things that need to get done first, and so on. In a restaurant, tickets are organized for similar reasons, so the person preparing the ingredients knows what to prepare in time for the chef making the specific dish, and so the whole meal comes together at the right time. In Agile development, these groups are called sprints, typically a 2-week period where the various developers work on their tickets so they're done in time for the next sprint. In a restaurant, the executive chef shows the cooking team everything that needs to be done for this set of orders. The cooks commit to what dishes they will work on. In Agile development, the same process occurs in what is called the Scrum process. In Agile development teams, Developers likewise commit for the code they will deliver for the current sprint. The cooks make the food, adjusting the seasoning and methods as needed based on the ingredients they have and any issues that come up while cooking to deliver the meal the customer expects, as well as from any feedback from the waitstaff and customers. Agile development works the same way. Developers implement what they committed to, making adjustments as they go to deliver the desired result based on feedback from stakeholders, the product manager, and their own insights. For restaurants, cooks are always looking to make the food better and the preparation process better. As they cook, they discuss and record where they need to make improvements with the ingredients or cooking process, then make adjustments in their future work. Agile development teams do the same thing, giving each other feedback during the development work as well as at the end of each sprint in what is called a retrospective. At a restaurant, when a batch of orders is done, the next batch starts up following the same process. This continues until service is completed. In Agile development, the sprints continue until the product is delivered. When that happens, the team starts over again on a new product. In a restaurant, consistency is important for every item on the menu. It's almost an assembly line for food. To accomplish that, the executive chef works out the recipes and then teaches them to the cooks and sous chefs. Typically, prep cooks also cut up all the vegetables and other ingredients in advance to precise specifications, so they're ready to use when the cook needs them. In Agile development, some of the work can be automated, such as code management and automated testing. Likewise, continuous integration ensures all the ingredients are prepared and then assembled properly to form the item. Continuous delivery lets you deliver code within each sprint, not wait until the end of each sprint. That gets the software to the business faster, though in smaller chunks. It's like a dim sum or tapas restaurant that lets you order different bites of food throughout the meal, delivering each one ready rather than delivering the whole meal all at once.
Okay, any doubt, any question, any queries till this point, students? Yes. जो भी आज हमने देखा पढ़ा, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. So just have a read it yourself. We will discuss it then. Okay? Okay. So I hope you enjoyed. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent.
Yes, ma'am.
सो स्टूडेंट चलो आज हमने बड़ी कन्वेंशनल क्लास नहीं ली जिसमें मैं बोलती जाती हूँ पढ़ाती जाती हूँ. आई थॉट लेट्स गिव इट अ चांस कि भाई हम थोड़ा अनकन्वेंशनल वे में भी कुछ टॉपिक्स पढ़ा दें. एंड आई सी